Welcome to another episode of Live from the Wish House with me, Chris Spinner. If you're a regular, welcome back. And if it's your first time, I'm so glad you're here. My path profoundly changed when my son was diagnosed with autism. I was 40 years old, my marriage collapsed, and my life resembled a roller coaster. It was time for a life reinvention, and I began to develop my own philosophies to navigate and thrive. And that umbrella is what my life is shaped under. Now I'm here to share what I learned and what I continue to experience with the intention that together we can create lives we love to live. So please subscribe, like, share, and most importantly, comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts, feelings, and stories. So today is an episode with lots of questions. Food for thought. Things to ponder. And here's what we are pondering about. Recently, I heard this quote, and it hit me really hard. I mean, it hit me right in my soul. It was kind of a quote that I was mulling around, maybe in my own head to create, but somebody else had created it. And I loved it so much, I'm basing the whole episode on it today. So here it is. We need to learn how to enjoy life without needing an audience to see that we are enjoying life. And I'm going to say that again. Like I needed to read it over and over. So you need to hear it again. We need to learn how to enjoy life without needing an audience to see that we are enjoying life. And believe it or not, that's become very difficult. It's very difficult in this climate that we've created, in this atmosphere that we've created, in this landscape that we're navigating. It seems easy when you hear it, but I found it's, even for me, a little bit hard to accomplish. And I am convinced it's because we have been conditioned. And I've also been thinking a lot lately about social media. As you'll notice in other episodes, it pops up a lot because I think it's doing something to us as a society that's not always positive. I know there's a lot of positive things about social media. It's a place now where we live. It's a place where we learn. And it sounds so funny from somebody who spends their time on social media trying to create somewhat of an influencing platform. But I think if we're not using social media correctly, which is probably not a new thought, but if we're not using it correctly and we're kind of just acquiescing to what it brings us, I think it's doing more damage to us than not. So I think we've been conditioned. And I tried to look up. It's very, very difficult to find the information you need on some of these platforms. But I think I recall joining Facebook. That was the first social media platform for me somewhere in 2009, which means I've been on that platform for 17 years. And that's something I really couldn't believe when I figured that out. 17 years. In my head, I feel like I've only been there 9 years. I don't know why. Maybe the 9. Maybe remembering I joined somewhere in 2009 is where I get the 9 from. But I've been on that platform 17 years. So I spent, I believe, about 51 years living my life without ever posting or announcing for others to see my life. I spent 51 years living in the present, not thinking about what people would think of my life, not seeing other people's lives, and not being part of the natural comparison that happens in our brain, whether we think it's happening to us or not. I like to pride myself on saying I don't compare. And I guess for the most part, I consciously don't, but it seeps in. You are looking at somebody else's life. You are looking at somebody else's clothing or car or vacation and wondering if, in fact, you're matching up or if the things that you are going to present or post would be interesting enough for somebody else to think that you have the content that they want to see. Because remember, most of us are not posting content as a creator. The majority of what I'm posting is a creation. I'm trying to get a message out there. It's not a phony message or a fake message, but it is a message nonetheless. But most of us, and myself included on our personal page, are posting our lives, simply our daily in and out. And I feel like we're being part of a slow drip, drip of the outside world kind of seeping in to the quiet parts of our day, the most intimate of thought times, if you will. As we strive to spend time in some sort of, contemplation. But what we're filling that contemplation time with is the outside world. We're striving for inner peace, but we're scrolling and letting the outside in. And I think it trips up our brain. It trips up our emotions, and it pulls us off center. And we feel the need to create a visual, which is based in reality, but embellished by what we think others want to see, or what we want them to see, or taking that a step further, what we kind of secretly wish we were. So by saying it out loud, by posting it out loud, then somehow we're convincing ourselves that that is real. But then that all falls flat when our mind reminds us that that piece that we've posted is not exactly 100% reality. And I think that confusion is messing with us. We don't enjoy our present anymore. Think about it. We cannot just simply sit in a park and look at a tree. We must take a picture of the tree and post it. Now, I'm so guilty of this. I'm sitting in a beautiful area. I'm looking at beautiful trees and landscapes and squirrels and all of the things. And my first instinct is to take out my phone, take a picture of that, and post to tell the world that I'm having a moment of peace and serenity. But how much peace and serenity am I actually having if I have a phone in my hand writing about it and making sure I have the right angle of the sun on the tree? I'm really not living in the present. So why do we need to tell people that we are at the park enjoying the tree? Is that something that someone really needs to know? It's not as if that post is encouraging others to do the same. I mean, sometimes it could be, but I know I'm not posting that for that reason, to say I'm outside today and I've had a revelation and I need for you to know this is your message to get outside too. Yeah, I do see posts like that, but that's really not the purpose of most of those kind of posts. It's to let somebody know that you're doing something in the quiet and solitude of your being, and now it's on your social media. Why must we see that through the phone? You go to a concert. My feed is filled with my friends at concerts. I mean, I guess there's some relevance in, taking a quick video to let somebody know you're at the Billy Joel concert or whatever you're seeing. But why? Why? You wait the whole time to get there and see the artist and to be involved in the singing along with your friends and whatever it is that you find in that collective environment at a concert, but yet you're looking at that concert that you paid astronomical tickets for to get close enough through the lens of your camera, through the lens of your phone. You're kind of straddled. That's what this makes us do. It straddles us between reality and some sort of future in which people are going to see it, maybe in an hour, maybe in a day. We're just totally not present, and I think it's messing with us. Those insertions of the outside are messing with our present. And I contend it's why we feel unhappy a lot. Now, you know me, I pride myself on looking at the bright side. I have tons of strategies to help myself to stay in a positive vein. I allow myself to cry when needed, or when to have a negative day, or, to yell out at the sky. I'm not saying I'm perfect in my quest, but I will say that from all of the years of striving to keep myself in that balance and to live my best life, I have developed the majority of the time in that more positive space. It's not a toxic positivity. There's a difference. It's not convincing myself that things are good if I don't feel good. But I do feel most of the time that whatever I am seeing or experiencing, I can overcome if need to be overcome, or that I can fully be present and enjoy that. So when I say it's why we feel unhappy a lot, I really am talking about the collective. I think this is why we are constantly telling our friends that there's something, a little bit off. We're not feeling 100%. We're not on our game often. When I look back, and again, I always like to disclaim, I'm not talking about depression or sadness that needs clinical looking at. I'm talking about the everyday sadness, the everyday. We have coined the term depression around that. It comes up in daily conversation. Whether I say it or I have friends that say it, it comes up at least once a day. At least once a day, somebody tells me that they are depressed about something. And I am telling you, I believe it's because we are straddling between present and this social media creation that is infiltrating our mind, with all of these kind of synapses just firing at us 24/7 because we are on that plane. We are in that world and we are seeing those things without having any real discernment. Think about it. Why do we need an audience to live our life, to have a good time? Why do we need everyone to be in on our life? How did living your life without an audience become an oddly stressful thing? I'm going to say that again. How did living our life without an audience become an oddly stressful thing? Because I feel compelled to post. There's an odd stress in that. Do you ever feel that? Do you find yourself feeling compelled to post? I do, and I'm working on that. Why do we feel less than if we keep our fun in the present and to ourselves? Why is that feeling so odd to us? Well, I'll tell you what I think, because after 17 years of taking my daily life and putting it out there, and I have cut back a lot in that because I ask myself the question. The question I ask and then I answer is, why are you posting this? Why are you posting this? Why are you putting this on the virtual bulletin board that is social media? What is it that you want others to gain from this? And I'm going to tell you, if I do 5 posts, 3 of them I take down. I write them out and then I look at it and I say, not necessary. It's not necessary for me to feel this feeling or know this thing or be in this experience and have everybody else be a part of it as well. There's a saying, if you don't take a picture, what is it? Pictures or it didn't happen. I have friends that say that all the time. I remember I saw a bear in front of my house a couple years ago. My biggest fear, that I would come home at twilight and that the bear that's been roaming my community would be in front of my house. So I definitely think I attracted it because I pulled up to unload some packages. And who was there? Coming right down my path, the big giant bear. I was terrified. I hadn't gotten out of the car yet. I was beeping the horn. This bear thinks it owns our community. So it didn't budge. It was like looking at me like, I live here. But eventually it walked away and I didn't even think. Here's the thing. I really didn't even think of grabbing my phone. I just was thinking of, how am I going to get these packages, and all about the bear, and it was a little dark out and whatever. But I had a friend, when I called right away, he said to me, pictures or it didn't happen, meaning I'm not going to believe you 100%. Of course he was joking, unless I see the size of this bear. But I wasn't angry at him for saying that, but I resent that. I don't like that statement. I can't share my life with somebody in the present time, the good, the bad, the ugly, as they say, without a picture to prove it. My life doesn't happen unless you can see it. My sadness isn't valid unless you can see it. My beautiful dress that I'm wearing to my niece's wedding isn't beautiful unless you can see it. Have we become needy that we need everyone to think we're good in order to feel good about ourselves? I feel like our lives have become divided into 2 sections. It's reality and the creation for others, and they're not meshing well. You see these memes all of the time, you are enough. I notice them just about every day. You are enough. Constant reminders about that basic sentiment. Why do I think there's a rise in that? I think there's a rise in that because we don't think we are enough. And I have to be honest with you, prior to 17 years of social media, I never ever woke up and thought, am I enough? Am I enough in the world? Am I enough to the people around me? Am I enough to my child? Am I enough to my parents? When I really dwell on that statement, off the top of my head, I'm sure I thought that about a potential partner. I'm sure I thought that, like, is this guy going to like me? Am I enough? Am I pretty enough? Am I thin enough? That was the sensibility when I was young. Am I smart enough? Am I blank enough? I think that's probably when I had that kind of thought swirling around in my head. But I never thought I wasn't enough for my friends, or wasn't enough for my work, wasn't enough for my neighborhood, or wasn't enough for the experience of life. I never thought that, yet every day now that's a thing. You are enough, and here's your valid points. And I think that's because we are almost addicted to that feedback from the daily posts on all of the social medias that are personal in content, our personal pages. I have friends. I will say I don't do this, but I do have friends, and many of them that are concerned about how many likes, how many thumbs, and how many hearts are coming on what it is they have to share. And don't think it's just kids thinking this. The adults are right up there, because think about it, for 17, 20 years, this has been a way of life. You put up a picture of yourself, you put up an activity that you've participated in, you put up something that you've done good for the common community, and you need to hear how great that is, how great you look, how fun that is, from others, to feel validated in yourself. And you can say that you don't, but I think that we do. Otherwise, we wouldn't be doing it all the time. I remember when, we didn't have this. We took pictures, we waited for them to be developed, and we shared them with the people we really wanted to share them with. And we had to wait. So I would call my close friend and tell them a great activity that I had, or wait till you see the latest pictures of Anthony, or something that I wanted to share. We had to wait till we got together. And then, yes, I wanted them to see, but I think that was more authentic. I wanted them to see because I wanted them to see the growth in my child, or here's the picture of me at my brother's wedding. Look at this great dress. And oh, I thought I looked good here. And here's this cute guy that I like, or whatever. Here's my new couch. But I feel like that was a share, an honest sharing of, here's my life. Here's what's happening in my life. And I would like you to see this visual presentation of it. Of course, I didn't think that deeply, but I knew that I was going to get the correct response. I didn't have to think about a response. I knew that the minute I showed my dress that I wore to my brother's wedding to my close friend, they were going to be very happy. Oh, you look great. And they weren't saying it just because. They were saying it because they meant it. And that person meant something to me. And the whole experience meant something to both of us. And did I think that deeply about it at the time? Absolutely not. But now I do. Now I do, because people are posting, looking for thumbs and hearts and all of this. I have friends that say, I noticed that person never likes the pictures of my grandchild. Okay. They never like when I post that I was on vacation, and that starts us ruminating. Maybe the person is just busy or doesn't put thumbs and likes and hearts, and maybe their lives are so overcome with all other problems that your son's wedding isn't the top of their priority list, that maybe the next time you see them, you will say, oh, I saw those pictures. He looked great. Congratulations. What a great day. But in that moment, there wasn't the desire to start doing all of this online conversation. Are we announcing things because we need hearts? How are seemingly smart people letting themselves become taken over by this phenomenon? I told you, lots of questions today. I hope you're listening and taking notes here so that you can answer these questions for yourself, because I have a little news for you. I don't have all the answers, but I think I'm going to throw a little Chrislosophy on it and tell you what's working for me. What's working for me is asking myself, why am I posting this? Why am I taking the time out of my day to share this with someone else? I'm going to use this example. I have a great niece and great nephew, or grandniece and grandnephews, my niece's children. I don't have grandchildren. I won't have grandchildren. And I'm okay with that. I often tell people, I'm not even sure I have the grandparent gene. Okay. Like my niece's mother-in-law, she's got the grandmother gene. She is a phenomenal grandmother, and she has adopted grandmother as part of her identity, and she gets the job done. When grandma comes in the door, it's the grandma world unfolding. And when Aunt Chris comes in the door, it's the, non-traditional woman from New York who doesn't live the same life as Grandma Donna, who's amazing, by the way, and such a great friend, but she's got the grandmother gene. She can spend hours and hours with my great niece and great nephew playing all the toys and doing all the things. And, I got about 30 minutes in me, although the last time I saw Natalie, we spent quite a lot of time coloring and chatting. But those are happenstance moments. I ask myself when I do post pictures of them, what am I trying to show? I really do. I really literally ask myself before I hit that send button, am I trying to show that I have grandkids too? That I have something that I'm in common with my friends? Am I secretly sad about that? The answer is no, but these are the questions I'm asking. Or am I trying to show people that there's an alternative, that I have a little bit of a cooler life? My great niece Natalie seems to think so. She's always telling me, I want to be like you when I grow up. And the things that she mentions, she notices my singleness. She notices my independence. She notices my quirky ways of having fun, and that I'm not the best cook. Thank God for Grandma Donna, or we would all starve. Is that what I'm trying to show? Maybe sometimes I want my identity to be broadcasted. Am I trying to show I'm loved, that I have a family, and that I have a support system? Maybe that's part of it. Not all of it, but maybe that's part of it. Maybe at the end of the day, I just want you to see these two kids who I happen to think are the most adorable kids. And so I think it's fun to put up the current situation and put up a little 10-second video of them dancing around. I often ask myself, do the 1,000 friends that I have really care about what I'm doing on a Tuesday night, that I'm watching, the K-pop Demon Hunters for the 600th time, and that the kids are dancing around to Golden? Like, does everybody really need to know that? But maybe it is a virtual bulletin board that's in those moments just sheer happiness. And there's nothing wrong with spreading a little happiness. I am trying very hard in my own personal posting life to pull back. Instead of having my two legs straddled, one in the reality, present, wonderful moments that are happening, or conversely, the sad moments, the problems I have to get through, the situations that arise, maybe I'm trying to keep myself in life, in the mess of life, and experience that with the people around me, and take only maybe then a quarter of that circle, and sharing what I feel I'd like to broadcast. I'd like for you to see. We're not going to get away with it. It's where we live now. But I got to tell you, I'm very envious of the few friends, and I have few friends that don't post at all. They don't post at all. They will post if they go on a vacation. They're going to England, and they will do a whole bunch of pictures. Look, I saw England, and that's interesting. I want to see the buildings. I've never been there. But that's what they're posting, the buildings and the cliffs of beaches or wherever they are. That's what they post, but they don't post anything else. I have an envy of them, I'm telling you, because I would like to feel 100% like I'm not interested, but I am interested because it's called social media for a reason. And I think that there is a social piece to it now. But I think we have to think about it. I think we have to think about how it's affecting us, and what can we do to take steps to enjoy our lives without needing an audience to see that we're enjoying our life. There's something to say for staying present. So every once in a while, I give you a little assignment. Your assignment is to re-listen to this at some point and answer all those questions for yourself. Put that in your mind. Ask yourself, are you sad? Are you finding yourself a little envious? Are you finding yourself making the comparisons? Are you finding yourself compelled to tell people that you're doing something that they really don't need to know? And why are you doing that? Nothing wrong with a little self-reflection. Go to the park, don't take a picture of the tree, and let me know how you did in the comments below. And I'll see you next time at the Wish House.